Friends and family, I'll ask you to gather. There are still empty seats around. I don't know that we've got enough for everybody, but I think we have, if you kind of shuffle in and make friends with people. Thank you for coming today. If you don't already know me, and I look vaguely familiar, it may be that the last time that we met was at Ash's funeral. And I gotta say, I don't really think that we should keep meeting like this. I count it a great privilege to carry out this last service for my very good friend, Gill and Clayton. And so welcome, I welcome you here, family and friends, those that are gathered here and those that are joining us online via live stream or later through the recording. And I want to just quickly acknowledge that there are many, many people who would have wished to be here and they are constrained by illness or distance or just life from being here, and we hold them in our hearts at this time. Together and apart, today and in the days to come, we will continue to speak your name. And hold in memory near. Oh, I really don't like that squeak. I don't like that one. I'll try not to do that anymore. We're just going to take a minute and we're going to pray. Sorry, I'm going to surprise Sandra. Thank you.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we stand where earth and heaven meet, where life and death intersect. Deliver us from grief, from fear and doubt, from despair and unbelief, and bring us to the light of your presence. Grant us that peace which the world cannot give, so that we may trust in you and find our life through you. Gather to yourself the one whom we have loved, and grant her those things which eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor the human heart imagined. And please, breathe your peace and your grace into our lives. Amen.
Yeah, stop it, don't be nice to me, it doesn't work. As you can see by the number gathered here, and just because we know, Gill's sphere of influence was extraordinarily wide. Her impact on individuals and communities has been varied and deep. And so rather than any kind of traditional eulogy today, we're going to hear from representatives from some of those, and then we're going to close with the words of Gill herself. So we're going to begin, Lizette's going to speak to us the words, please, of Lindsay Yo, who has been a very good family friend among all kinds of life. So thank you, Lizette.
Dear Shane, family and friends, sometimes, let's be honest, life sucks. Losing wonderful people like Gillian makes me shrug my shoulders and ask, what's the point? She was soft and gentle and smiling and fun and inspirational, and we're all better off knowing her. And suddenly she's gone. Got one prepared. Leaving a void impossible to fill. These aren't even my words. My first encounter with Gillian 23 years ago was hearing her mellifluous telephone voice. She claimed to be one of the busy team of telephone operators at the Sound Pit recording studio. Later I learned she was the only operator. Hundreds of times over the years, before and after recording sessions, I would enjoy chatting with Gillian. She was always unfailingly cheerful, positive and charming. Even there were times with little to cheer about. And for some reason I can't explain, I never really considered Gillian blind. Her attitude, demeanour and personality seemed to negate any apparent disability. I believe she could see in ways we can't explain. Does that make sense? I enjoyed a lovely long chat with her just hours before she died. She had just spent a lovely weekend with her new granddaughter in Christchurch and happily described her time with her precious little girl. Gill said, "Lindsay, I'll send you a video of Ella. She's absolutely gorgeous." Once again, I was in no doubt Gillian could see her. So, what now? This can't be the end. Gillian would want us to support Shane and the family as best we can, and we will. We have to let Gillian go. We have no choice. It makes me feel better imagining Gillian hugging Asher at this moment. Thank you, Gillian. If anyone deserves a long, peaceful rest, it's you, dear friend. Lindsay Young.
Charlotte's going to come and speak to us. You might be surprised to learn that Gillian had a daughter, and that's kind of how she gets referred to. When the boys were younger, they were at St John, and one of the rules was that children weren't allowed to go unless they had a parent to pick them up. And so Shane and Gill became Charlotte's parents occasionally, and Xenia became the boys' parents, just to allow them to get away. But as they've grown, Charlotte has really kept that special connection with Gill, and so I'd like to invite you to speak.
Gill, my other mum, is everything you could want in a person. She guided me with her warmth, love and fun in how she lived her life. As we go about life, we are all just working it out, but to me, she just knew how to be. I can't even count the amount of times we've had conversations about everything, and I could just go and talk to her about anything you could possibly imagine. And particularly over the past week, I've just been talking to other people, like particularly family, about stories, and I'm so lucky to have all those memories. So, yeah, just thank you for the best memories.
Gill grew up on the coast, and because of that, when she got to kind of high school years, she went off to Rangiruru school, and I haven't eyeballed yet whoever is going to come as a representative. I really hope that he was. I thought it was the other Gill, or maybe Rose. No. Yes, I knew there was one.
There are 4.
Hi guys, there are 4 of us here today, all ex-boarders, and we're representing Kim from Germany at the moment, but she wrote a lot of this when she was in Mallorca. It's nice to be some, eh? Jill was a dear friend. So this is from Kim. Willie, 'tis not much I've written, but I'm going to try. I'm wanting to say some memories of my past with you. I'm not sure where to begin, but I think that Rangiruru in Christchurch is a good place if you need to start. We were fresh boarders and in the 3rd form, which today's world is Year 9. Willie introduced herself as Gill Willett. That is, and we all got very good at this and listening to it, and we can recite it in our sleep. That's a W, a double O, a double L, an E and a double T. And I come from Granity, West Coast. Or was that Hector, or was it Nokaboa? We were all a bit confused, but Jill and her brothers and her parents knew exactly where. She had the most adorable ringlets and hair, and in her hair, and the brightest blue sparkling eyes, and I think we've seen evidence of that in all her photos, those little primary school photos that we've just seen on the lovely visual that Shane's done. Throughout those school years, there were always adventures, misadventures and matrons. Some of those matrons became allies, others were on the outer, let's say. Willie's health started to deteriorate and nobody could figure out what was happening to her. From memory, and I'm putting this in here, I think it was our fourth form as boarders at Ringarooro. There was a massive amount of stress to us all when Willie was put into sick bay. We were told no visitors. There were always missions to invade the matrons and to sneak into the sick bay to share some time with Willie. It seemed to take forever for Willie to get a diagnosis and then to stabilise and to get back into the boarding house with us, as she did spend some time in hospital. But she did, and in time, I can assure you, we were all incredibly impressed with her resilience. Not once was there a poor me from her. We all loved being with Willie. As she lost her sight in her 20s, she remembered us all by our voices. She could pick us instantly and would recognise us easily. Kim says here that I remember once she had taken Gill down to Hanmer to a Rangi Girls catch-up weekend, which we occasionally did and now know that we probably didn't do quite enough. Kim says that she had injured her leg. Willie and I wandered into the rendezvous with Willie saying, "Lame leading the blind," and expecting us to all part like water. She had the best of humour, as we know. I could not speak of Willie without mentioning her greatest loves: Shane, Asher, Jono, Ella, her parents, Gray and Stu, and all her wonderful friends up here in Nelson and all through her life. You've all made such an impression on her, and as someone has previously just said, she was such a gentle soul. Willie, we will always love you. We will miss you. How incredibly lucky were we as Rangi Girls to have you in our lives. Thank you, Willie, for all that you gave us. Friendship, compassion, tolerance, kindness, loyalty, and above all, love as a friend. And we just have a wee poem here from Kim, from Brent Colville. Nothing you love is lost. Not really. Things, people, they all go away sooner or later. You cannot hold them any more than you can hold the moonlight. But if they have touched you, and if they are inside you, then they are still yours. The only things you ever really have are the ones that you hold in your heart. Brent Colville. Thank you.
Over the years, Shane and Gill have had a great deal of involvement with World of Wearable Arts, with the WOW, and I had the privilege once of sitting next to Gill during a show and just watching her enjoy. She got to go to a lot of the rehearsals, so that she got a lot explained as she was going. That's not WOW, that's Cat Stevens, I think. I was going to go, that's good timing, and then it was like, no, that's not. But that's the face. That's the face that I remember from just anywhere that she was. And so I'm going to ask Dame Susie Moncrief to come, please, and speak.
Hello everyone. I met Gill when I was working on the WOW show, doing music with Shane for 25 years, and in total I think I've known Gill for 30 years. There was always a cheerful, warm welcome from Gill when I arrived to work with Shane, and I was also most grateful for the cups of hot tea she would bring into Shane and I while we worked long, often long hours. Gill touched many hearts with her kindness and warmth. She was a woman of remarkable strength, unwavering resilience, and faced life's trials with courage and tenacity. She was such an inspiration and had such a positive impact on everyone she met. I'll always remember an image of Gill and her two young boys who would have been around 5 or 7 years old at the time. I was waiting in my car at Mapua and looked up to see the two little boys hand in hand with their mother, gently guiding her to a beautiful rose garden, the bushes in full summer bloom. And seeing Gill bend down hand in hand with her boys to smell the perfume and the little faces smiling up at her. The joy and love that I witnessed that day shared between them remains forever etched in my mind. It was a beautiful moment. I also have fond memories of Gill, Shane and Jono as a young boy arriving at my place with a birthday cake made and wonderfully decorated by Jono as a surprise for my granddaughter Daisy's 5th birthday. It was so unexpected and such a thoughtful and kind thing to do. And I seem to remember, Jono, the icing was bright green for some reason and the cake was totally over the top. I'd like to finish today with a quote from Helen Keller, who had a similar journey in life as Gill. So in Helen Keller's words, "Death is no more than passing from one room to another. But there's a difference for me, you know, because in that other room I will be able to see. Rest in peace, dear Gill. You will always be remembered, always missed, and forever treasured."
Partly, I believe, due to Ash's health as he was growing. Shane and Gill's family had a very good relationship with physio. We haven't really talked about all of this. We've been so busy talking about all kinds of other things. Who was a physio for Asher, who did amazing things with the boys when they were young, and they've kept that relationship up. And then when Gill was doing her massage training, Jesper was very much involved with her, talking about physiology, all of that kind of thing. He's also unable to be here today, but Sandra's going to come and speak.
These are words from Jesper and Christina. Dear Gillian, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your life. Thank you for sharing part of your life with us. Thank you for your kindness, your smile, your humour, and your zest for life. Thank you for your unseeing but all-seeing eyes. Thank you for showing us what blind people can sense where seeing people would struggle. Thank you for teaching us resilience, courage, and the will to continue with your life even when your whole world collapses around you. Something that happened not once, not twice, but many times for you. Thank you for your love and devotion to Shane, Asher, and Jonathan. Thank you for your fierce loyalty to them. You were, together, an awesome team. Thank you for you doing your utmost best for your family in spite of your own problems. Thank you for fighting tooth and nail for Asher. Thank you for your care, insight, and especially your love and care for Jono. How you recognised how difficult life was for that young son of yours, who ended up in the shadow of the very important care visit for his older brother. Thank you for being a friend. Now be with Asher. Rest in peace, Jesper and Christina.
one of the things about Gill is that she was blind. And Kay Holker is here. And I didn't warn her, so it'll take a little moment for her to come and speak to her. To us. Thank you, Kay, I appreciate it.
As Ange has said, my name is Kay Halkett. What is my connection with Gill? And as you might have guessed already, I came to know Gill through blindness-related activities. How much fun we had with those activities. I'll describe one of them. Gill was the initiator and then instigator of a group that became known as the Blind Low Vision Accessible Art Group. We're talking visual art here as well. We painted, we potted, we glued, we played with clay. We used a lot of different techniques. We had a huge amount of fun. Gill, I came to know, was amazingly creative. During one of those sessions, and this was during a series of pottery classes, I'll outline a creation that Gill made that demonstrated that level of creativity. Most of us playing with the clay made utilitarian sort of objects, plates, dishes, and such things. And I, for one, was constantly saying, I need some quality control here. I don't want this to look like a blind woman has made it. Meanwhile, Gill was making this absolutely gorgeous thing to hang on the wall. Let me describe it to you. Imagine a dress. Now, for those of you who get confused between a dress and a skirt, it's important that you know the difference. A dress is one of those things that starts sort of around the shoulder area and goes down to somewhere around the knees or below. A skirt is something that starts around the waist and also goes down to somewhere around the knees or below. Could be above the knees. So Gill, with her piece of clay, started folding at the skirt end, pleating, 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 folding, folding, folding. Think Marilyn Monroe style. It was shaped, it was pinched into the waist, Barbie style, and at the top it was very roomy. I did neglect to mention, in your imagination, you have to imagine that you've unstitched the side seam and thrown away the back, so we're just dealing with the front part of the dress. To top it all off, it was eventually fired and glazed, and the glazing was bright, bright fire engine red. It was absolutely stunning. I'm not sure whether it ever got to hang on the wall. Shane, you might be able to tell us about that. Gill was also an active member on the Blind Citizens Committee. This is an advocacy organisation. And through Gill, we were able to make some contacts to enhance the accessibility. And one of those was the committee decided that we should have a sound system during our meetings to enhance the hearing quality for many of the members. Well, right on hand, we had our sound tech consultant who advised us and ensured that we purchased the correct sound system and then taught us how to use and place the system. Thank you, Shane. The other accessibility feature through Gill was a wonderful audio describer who we met and trained, or she trained, and has often benefited us at things like live performance, visual art, exhibitions, and various other situations, and we hope that continues. Thank you, Ange. Gill, for me, was an absolute inspiration. Not because of what she achieved as a blind person. That's not what made her unique. I know a lot of blind people who do amazing things. What was inspirational for me was she was the most thoughtful, caring, empathetic, and gracious person I've ever met. That's what made her unique. And that aspect of her character is what has drawn so many friendships. And that's why there's such a large gathering here today, because of that connection and that character that cemented those friendships. Gill, my friend, I'll miss you greatly.
You might have noticed that rather than sitting in the place of honour in the front row, the Clayton family, don't look, are quietly in the back row there. They're all right. So speaking from their family, we have Gill's mother-in-law, who has sent a message from England, and then eyeballing Aggie, I don't think Aggie's going to come and speak to us. So this is it from her international mother-in-law. It is with great sadness and a broken heart that I write this. Gill, my lovely daughter-in-law, the one I have laughed and cried with so many times. I will so miss the newsy phone calls. I loved you so much. You gave Shane so much happiness, and you blessed me with 2 beautiful grandsons. My brother, Captain Alf Eagle, Shane's uncle, sends his condolences, as does his son and daughter, Mark and Tina, and they are thinking of you. Rest in peace, Gill, your ever-loving Mo. The fact that they're not saying anything, you know that, doesn't mean that they don't care. It's this that gets us. We are going to briefly share the perspective that Gill experienced when she lost her sight. It had an impact on the way that she experienced day-to-day life. And so we're going to spend a few moments in total blackout, as close as we can get it. It's going to take a little moment while we get that to happen, so I'm going to keep talking. During that time, there's going to be a short blackout slideshow, after which Gabor Tholne is going to play a portion of a piece of music that he composed with Shane for World of Wearable Arts. And at the time that they were writing it, his wife and Shane's wife were both quite unwell, and so it was with this in their hearts that they wrote that. And I'm going to laugh at myself because they turned the lights off. And I didn't know where my words were. Here they are, I found them. That was lucky. So as Kay alluded to, I do a little bit of audio describing for the blind, and it is a great privilege to be able to share and to increase accessibility to the arts. And so I invite you, if it's not blacked out enough for you, feel free please to close your eyes as we do a little slideshow the way that Gill would have experienced it. A black and white photograph of Gillian, school age. It is a formal school photo. She sits, hands folded in front of her, looking directly at the camera. Behind her are library shelves full of books, messily stacked. In this photo, Gill has very dark and curly hair, held back by a white bandana. She's wearing a gingham checked pinafore over a white open neck blouse. On the desk in front of her is a hand-lettered sign reading Granity School, 1970. A colour photograph of a young family at the beach. The sand glistens wet. It's an outgoing tide. It's a candid picture of the Clayton family. Left to right, Shane, Gill, Asher and Jonathan. Shane's the only one looking toward the camera. Tucked in under Shane's elbow, Gill is wearing a folded newspaper hat, looking up the beach, shielding her eyes in a classic pirate lookout pose. Asher and Jonathan in this picture are around half the height of Shane and Gill. Asher's face is intent. His mouth is open, and from what I know of Asher, he's talking about something at great intent. And beside him, Jonathan is carrying a big stick over one shoulder. This is a photograph of a relaxed family having fun together. We have a close-up, candid photograph taken from over Gillian's shoulder. She is almost nose to nose with her newborn grandchild, Ella. She's feeding her a bottle, holding her very close and tight. We have a wide shot of a group of people gathered in front of a tree. It is a golden ash. It's Ash's memorial tree at Garran College. The occasion is the anniversary of Ash's passing. The people in this photo are each wearing heavy coats or puffers and are huddled under 3 umbrellas. This crowd loosely left to right: Julie, Shane, Gill, Lizette, Xenia, Owen, Ange, Sandra and Mary. And in this photo, I was there, I recall it, as the camera's over here, Gill, and smile, and she is. She is smiling her trademark photo face, which is also known as the wide-mouthed frog grin. We have a photograph of Gill, which I believe is perhaps the last photo taken of her, just the other weekend. She's sitting at a wooden table in a disreputable pub. She's wearing a baggy grey jersey with the sleeves pulled up that show black sleeves underneath. Gill is leaning in toward the camera mid-sentence. In front of her on the table are 2 very big lumps of pork, prizes that she won in the pub raffle. Very useful. But we have today here that very same pork, which is on the tables to share. So do make sure that you take a moment to have a nibble of her last prize. And then finally, a series of 4 photographs in a single frame, 2 sets of two almost identical photos. In the first pair of a professional framed photo, Shane is casually seated at the piano. Gillian stands behind him with her hands on his shoulders, her head bending towards Shane's. It's their wedding day. Shane is formally dressed in long-sleeved black shirt with a tie. Gillian is wearing her wedding dress. The neckline of the dress is low and wide, leaving her shoulders bare, and oh, her wedding dress is black. She's wearing a fine silver necklace and a thin bracelet. The second photo of this pair was taken recently on the occasion of their wedding anniversary. Their pose is exactly identical. Shane is again wearing full-length formal black with a tie. Gillian is wearing her actual wedding dress from the original photo. The second pair of photos match the first in all but pose. Shane this time stands behind Gillian, one hand at her waist, the other on her opposite shoulder, and Gill's hands are over Shane's. Although they are formally posed in all of these photos, they are both smiling.
I'm hoping we can stay in blackout just because you don't need to see me. And Gill never saw me anyway, so maybe she wouldn't have been interested if she had. This is unprepared ad-lib, but I've got alongside Gabor, who's the master of ad-lib. Wednesday evenings were always the worst. Wednesday evening, Jono lost his brother. Wednesdays, Gabor and I would meet together. Gill had her first heart attacks. Gabor was going through ill health, the ill health of his wife. Trying to feel positive about that outcome. We met to console each other, to chat, but very few words were spoken. I looked forward to the Wednesday evenings. We had a commission, a piece of music, and that's how we spent Wednesday evenings. The commission was for World of Wearable Art. Wow. But the underlying theme of the whole piece of music was my beautiful wife Gill and Gabor's beautiful wife Judith. Before I met Gill, she'd already had tragedies. She's lost her mother, lost her sight, lost her father, lost her sight. We got married, and I discovered a woman beyond compassionate, beyond incredible, beyond forgiving. A lot of the things we learned to compromise, forgiveness was never one of them. Her forgiveness was total, absolute. I couldn't forgive quite so easily. And she tried to lift me up to her standard. Was still trying to lift me up to her standard. We had our son Asher. We had our son Jonathan. We became a tight unit of 5. Gill's mum Helen was really the third parent all the time. And to say Gill and I were each other's other halves is probably not quite right. Right through to the end, it wasn't half and half, it was more an intertwined helix. Just really, she was more than half and I was more than half, but we just needed to be together. Then our boys and Helen just wrapped around that, just forming a tight bond because of the things that we faced. More things that Gill faced. More things that Jono faced as a young man. Things that he should never have seen. We went away, we went through Ash's surgery, year after year. Our doctor, our GP, Pete McGuire, said he'd never seen a couple work so well in crisis. He said we worked best in crisis, and we did. We'd come back from each crisis and then we'd rip each other apart. We'd rip each other apart so there's just about nothing left, held on by just a thread, a little more. And then we'd build up a little bit more. And then the next crisis would hit, and then we just had to work together and get through that one. Eventually we got to the point where we said we just can't cope with anymore. We have used up all our cope, we've used up all our energy. So we'd have another crisis, we'd work together, we'd rip each other apart even more. Ange saw one of the real days when it seemed like there was nothing left. Ange and Owen heard words that they'd never heard before and seen us behave the way we'd never behaved before. They must have thought, no, these two are either going to kill each other, but certainly are not going to get back together. But the underlying thing was we wanted to be together. We knew the statistics for children with critically ill children, and damned if we were going to succumb to that. We were together for the duration. And I've got to mention Jono. Jono going through the death of his brother, and through the death of Gill's mum, Helen. Again, at his age, he's had to cope with those things, which is just cruel. Our tight unit of 5 became 4 with the loss of Helen, then became 3 with the loss of Asher. Sorry there are no amusing anecdotes, and this hasn't been formulated very well, and I think the end is bittersweet. But there are some positives in there which I'm having problems with, but I'm handing them to you so you can take them away and see those positives. After Gill's heart attack, her health deteriorated and she struggled with quality of life and loss of independence and loss of dignity, and we're seeing that month to month, week by week. But really saw it as her bonus time, and then Ella came along and that brightened her up no end and gave her a reason to just continue, deal with the indignities and just fight through it. She loved Ella as much as her employees. Over the last year, things were coming along nicely. There were ups and downs, no crises. We'd learned to love each other without the crises. We'd learned to work together without the crises. And little things over the last wee while, like driving back from Jono's place just a few weeks ago. And because of renovations and messing around and husbands not doing what husbands should be doing, she hadn't really enjoyed going back to Wakefield. And on the last trip, just past Cowatary, she said to me, I haven't looked forward to going back to Wakefield for such a long time. And this time it just feels like we're going home. It just felt like everything was improving. We'd reached a level of trust, just loyalty, faith in each other, love in each other. Not just taken for granted, but something special, which I think could only have come of all those years of ups and downs, fighting, recovering, crisis, fighting, recovering, crisis. That intertwining was just so tight. Her last words, which some of you know, explain what I saw when I went into theatre to be with her for the last few moments. The whole team either were crying or had been crying. The surgeon was crying. Her last words were, she looked around at the team and she said to them all, I'd just like to thank you all for being here and trying so hard, and I'd just like to let you know that right now I don't have any pain in my chest. And in all probability at that stage they knew there was little hope, and they'd just been enchanted by Gill and Clayton. I love her. I know you loved her. Thank you all.
We're going to come back up to full light. You might like to keep your eyes closed, particularly because the screens are very bright. One of the things that Gill did was she recorded things through an app called Storyworth. And so there are chapters of various things that she enjoyed and remembered and that were important to her. And one of those chapters is, what are some of your favourite sounds? So I'm going to read that to you, following which, by way of benediction, Lou is going to come and she'll play a piece that she has composed in Gill's honour. My favourite sounds, Gillian Clayton. I guess it's no surprise how important sound is to me, especially since losing my sight. My brain quickly learned to use my other senses to take up the slack, and now sound plays a big part in filling in the gaps. Layers of sound in any space or environment give depth and texture to my mental picture of where I am and what's happening around me. Different sounds can also conjure up memories and evoke a wide range of positive feelings, from soporific to stimulating. I have so many favourites, it's hard to list them all in one go because every time I think I've listed them all, another one pops into mind. So, water and the many different sounds it can make, depending on its form, volume and flow, features highly on my list. But I have lots of other favourite sounds that are equally important to me. Any recordings of voices of the special people and occasions in my life are precious because they are my version of other people's photos and videos. Whenever I hear kids laughing, playing and shrieking in their sheer joy of the moment, I feel good simply by association. I get pleasure from the sound of wind chimes, gently stirring in a breeze, most especially the deeper, more melodic tones made by the bigger ones. I find the haunting call of church bells nostalgic, and chiming clocks as they measure the quarter, half, three-quarter and hour are not only practical but comforting. I love listening to the dawn and dusk chorus sung by the many birds in our garden, and most especially the solo performances of any visiting tui and bellbirds. The sound of cicadas always recalls to me thoughts of long, lazy summer days. Whenever I hear the distant sound of a lawnmower, I'm transported back to when I was growing up on the coast, the smell of fresh cut grass and Dad mowing the lawn late on a Sunday afternoon. Another memory from those days is triggered whenever I hear a tumble dryer still running when I've gone to bed. Sometimes Mum would finish drying off things after we were tucked up for the night, and I still feel the same sense of comfort listening to that sound. The crackling, popping and gentle hissing of a fire conjures up a feel of being cosy, warm and secure. And sometimes, especially after I've found life a bit demanding, or if it's been especially noisy or busy, the sound of silence is just what I need. But it's many of the sounds made by water that I find the most therapeutic. Regardless of whether it's a natural phenomenon or man-made, over the years I've found these are most likely to help restore my equilibrium. I've heard rain referred to as providing nature's white noise, with its ability to soothe, relax and block out other sounds. This is true for me, and it doesn't matter if it's a light patter or a heavy downpour. I've always loved listening to the sound of rain, most especially when I'm going to sleep. I find some water sounds have an especially calming effect on me. Just hearing a bath filling and I can feel myself starting to relax. It's the same when I hear water gently trickling down from level to level in a garden feature. The soft swish and pull of a tranquil sea lapping onto a sandy beach is also hard to beat. It's almost as if the sea is breathing peacefully, and whenever I try to meditate, this is the sound I try to focus on. Conversely, from an early age, whenever I've felt upset or cross, it helps when I hear angry waves crashing onto a stony beach and noisily dragging back again. It's as if the sea is matching my mood, but the sheer volume and vastness of it eventually seems to suck those feelings away and put things back into perspective. This is a piece of writing that doesn't have an end. I'm going to invite Lou to come and play for us, and I'd ask the rest of us to stand by way of benediction. Please stand. keyboard's not going to.
No,
Oh, she's there. That's right. Oh, I thought the keyboard was over that side. Oh, is it on? Is there a magic way to make it go? We have the audio tech, please. There we go. Go for it. We're grateful for everything Gillian was and all that she gave. May she forever rest in peace, in the certain knowledge that she was and will be dearly loved and utterly missed. Farewell. Amen. Please continue to share our time together. Do grab some of that pork. It was important to Gill that this time not be sombre, but to be a bit of a garden party. And so please do talk to each other about how you knew Gill. And yeah, a little bit of a celebration of Gill's life. Thank you for being here.